It is a new day. Light begins to dawn. Rays of life, giving energy, break forth in glorious splendor. It is the dawning of a new day in consciousness. The light of illumination begins to break upon you from within. You are a spiritual being, a light being. You have been endowed with 12 cosmic powers, 12 gifts of light: faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, enthusiasm, release, life. Accept your 12 powers. Burst forth into the dawning of a new way of life. Join with your friends David Williamson, Doctor of Ministry, Galen Williamson, Psychotherapist, and Robert Knapp, Medical Doctor, as they energetically explore your power of enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm, or zeal, is the power that moves us forward, that fires us with energy. It's the fuel that is necessary in our growth and development. It's the urge to stretch, to drive, to excel, the desire to improve and contribute. Remember now, this is a power that you already have. You have the power of enthusiasm. You have all that you ever need or can use. But maybe you feel bored or dull or burned out or exhausted or defeated or sad. Now, we all have those feelings at times. If you seem to lack this power of enthusiasm in life, then return to that silent state, that state of quiet and inner contact with your unlimited source that supplies you, the God within. Now, some people try to pump up or drum up enthusiasm. They're told to look in the mirror in the morning and say, "Wow, am I enthusiastic?" Well, that's one way, but there's an even deeper well of enthusiasm than that. Even the origin of the word itself indicates that this is a divine attribute that is closely connected to a cosmic energy that burns within us. Enthusiasm comes from the Greek, en, meaning in, and theos, meaning God. It's being literally on fire or possessed by God. There's a framed piece of what looks like rough school construction paper in the library at Unity School. And Charles Fillmore, who developed the system of the 12 powers that we're surveying here, wrote it back in 1948 with what looks like a crayon. It says, "I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me." He was 94 when he wrote that on a scrap of paper. It was a few months before he died, but he was still enthusiastic. He was still in love with life and living. He still wanted to accomplish and serve. He said that enthusiasm is the impulse to go forward, the urge behind all things. Now, some people get fired up with enthusiasm and then they ride off in all directions. So enthusiasm has to be channeled in an orderly way if we're to do our best work. It's like people who have great talent but can't get their act together. They can't organize their lives enough to capitalize on their abilities, and their talent is not fully realized or expressed. Now, all of us have known people with marvelous abilities who are passionate about singing or computers or writing or landscaping, but they never have been able to organize their talents and efforts in a successful way. So overzealous people tend to be overly active, overly involved in a myriad of projects, unable to set healthy boundaries to others' demands or needs, have too many irons in the fire, and drive themselves ahead at full speed ahead. And overzealous people aren't balanced. They aren't using their faculty of order, and they can crash and burn out and break down and lose people they care about. The old saying is, no one ever complained on their deathbed that they wished they'd spend more time at the office. Now, we do need enthusiasm to accomplish anything, and rightly understood and rightly channeled, our enthusiasm brings zest for living and joy and exuberance and the ability to convert good desires into successful outcomes that make a positive contribution to the world.
I am alive, I'm alert, I am enthusiastic about life. How often do you feel this way? Enthusiasm is truly the energy that propels you, urges you, entices you to take the next step forward in your life. Enthusiasm says yes to life, yes to your good, yes to being in the flow of energy. By saying yes, we can reprogram ourselves to have mastery over our automatic, subconscious reflexes, thoughts, and feelings. I've seen many examples of how yogis and other spiritual adepts have command over their bodies to perform in seeming impossible ways. Much has been documented on how they can stop breathing, alter their heartbeat, can lie on nails and other jagged, sharp objects, and can walk on fiery coals unharmed. Well, most of us wouldn't want to attempt these things. However, the example is certainly there to show us that with desire and practice, you and I can raise our body, mind, and spirit to higher vibrational levels. There's a potential for mastery and reprogramming of habitual subconscious thoughts and feelings. I went to a women's weekend and took part in a program that had an experience of fire walking. Now, fire is like our enthusiasm. It's our passion, our flame, and it is powerful. Enthusiasm literally means on fire with God. Now, when we tap into our passion, it must be balanced with our other powers, like wisdom and good judgment, order, love, understanding, strength, or else we'll get burned or we'll burn out. So balance and discernment are critical. We need to tune into our inner guidance and realize how we are to be enthused but not overzealous. At the Firewalk experience, the question I asked myself is, do I have the guidance to walk across the fire or not? Now, I was the only one who could answer this question. After all, it was my feat, and I had to tune in for me and be all right with my inner guidance. Really honor it and hear it clearly. Yes, I walk across the fiery coals, or no, I don't walk. And either way is okay. Sometimes the answer from our inner self may be, no, don't do that. And if you or I get this message, it's okay to stand in that truth with strength and power, even though others around us might be doing what we would like to be doing. But our answer is no. Some examples are, no, don't go out with that person. No, don't put any more on the credit cards. No, don't eat that unhealthy junk food. No, don't take that job. Don't become obsessed with work. In other words, don't be swept up in the passion, fire, and enthusiasm of the moment and get burned. Now, sometimes I have stubbornly done something anyway and really have gotten burned. This time, under a beautiful star-filled night, I searched my heart and soul and wrote pages in my journal asking whether I should walk across these red-hot cinders. My question was about my own belief. Did I believe that I could walk across hot, burning embers and not get burned? My answer was yes. And the answer was clear. And it was from that place inside me that I received my best guidance. That vibration of yes filled my body as I took long, deep, strong strides across the expanse of burning coals. Eyes focused ahead, hearing in every cell of my being, yes, 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 until I had walked all the way across. And I did not get burned. I had taken conscious control of an ordinarily automatic response. Fire will burn you. And I had defied a well-accepted law of cause and effect that I had once believed was immutable. Enthusiasm is our passion, our fire. It needs to be guided step by step, and then we can achieve what once we thought was impossible.
Our power of enthusiasm and zeal expresses in our body via several structures at the base of our brain. One of these is the hypothalamus, right here. And the rest of them are part of the brainstem, which includes the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. These centers at the base of our brain regulate all of our body's automatic functions, and these include the temperature of our body, our heart and respiratory rates, our appetite, whether we are asleep or awake. And the base of our brain also regulates our energy level, our mood, and our libido. So what happens when we get all fired up and enthused and filled with zeal? Well, these thoughts and emotions activate the hypothalamus and the brainstem, which now send out nerve signals to the rest of the body. The hypothalamus also releases hormones that regulate the pituitary gland and all of the other endocrine glands, like the thyroid gland, which determines our energy level. I'm sure you've heard of endorphins, the body's own morphine-like chemicals that relieve pain and produce feelings of joy and well-being. Now, guess where they are released? That's right, from the hypothalamus. And some nerve cells in the midbrain release neurotransmitters like serotonin, which determine if we are joyous and happy or if we are depressed. So we have these centers at the base of our brain that express our joy and enthusiasm, our fire of life, or our lack of it. How they do this all depends on what we program into our subconscious mind. Like a computer, we can only print out what we have programmed into it. Let me give you an example. Teresa was diagnosed as having chronic fatigue syndrome. In counseling, she shared that she had a series of relationships in which she had invested monumental amounts of energy, but which had not worked out. Her parents were challenging because nothing she did was ever enough for them. But Teresa felt that she could not pull back out of a sense of her obligation to be a good daughter. At work, she gave tirelessly to her job, staying late hours and always doing extra. Is it any wonder that she burned out and developed chronic fatigue syndrome? Now, when she restructured her life and relationships so that she received as well as gave, when she learned to use her zeal in a wise and balanced fashion, her energy gradually returned. Depression is another common sign or difficulty with our power of enthusiasm. A man named Jason had a tendency to feel blue, to always expect the worst in his life. He meditated, he said his affirmations, he ate healthy foods and exercised regularly. But his chronic low-grade depression continued. Finally, in counseling, he realized the root cause of his dark moods. As a child, his father had been depressed and his mother had had several serious illnesses. So in response, Jason had decided that his own lot in life, like his parents, was to suffer. This realization hit him like a bolt of lightning. He was supposed to suffer. He had programmed this belief so deeply into his subconscious that no affirmation could touch it. Rather, he first had to release this core conviction and then to reprogram it with expectations of peace and joy and enthusiasm. And when he did this, his mood gradually brightened and he became enthusiastic and optimistic about his life. What attitudes and emotions do you need to release and reprogram so that you too can be joyous, enthusiastic, and filled with abundant energy?
Employers love to have enthusiastic workers. They value people who look forward to coming to work. They often reward initiative. I once had a person working for me who complained whenever the phone rang. "Oh, another call. I have enough to do already. Who is it now?" When there was money to count, she complained. "There's more here than last week." When people came in to buy something, she grumbled, "Oh, another customer." I eventually had to replace her because her negative attitude set up a resistance to the ability to serve and to the potential of the organization to grow. So enthusiasm creates a positive consciousness of receptivity and welcoming greater good. Wow, another customer. Great, more money to count and take it to the bank. We're doing so well, the phone just keeps on ringing. Now, some people burn out and some rust out. Enthusiasm, wisely channeled, can often prevent both conditions. Both troubles are often found in long-term situations. Well, a marriage of many years, a job we have been doing a long time, a routine as always going to the same place at the same time or the same place for vacation. I heard that someone conducted a survey which raised the question, which is worse, ignorance or apathy? And one person responded, I don't know and I don't care. There are changes that we can make in our attitudes, our ways of doing things that bring forth a greater enthusiasm. And boredom is not necessary in a job or a marriage or a school or a town or a church. The boredom is not there. We often say, this is a boring job. And then the question comes up, well, can I get unbored? Can I get more interested and interesting? Can I be more enthusiastic about this job? Are there ways that I can engage myself to make this more stimulating and exciting and meaningful? Walter Toscanini, the son of the famous symphony conductor Arturo, was asked what his illustrious father was most enthusiastic about. What was the most important thing in his life? What really turned him on the most? And he replied, the most important thing in Toscanini's life is the thing he happens to be doing at the time, whether it's directing a symphony or peeling an orange. We can be enthusiastic about anything, playing with our children, having fun with the dog or cat, finding ways to improve our work, being in a successful recovery, doing well in school, exploring our town, changing our routine, finding ways to be more romantic in a long marriage, or being fascinated while peeling an orange. Henry David Thoreau, the American transcendentalist and naturalist, said, I have traveled much in Concord. Hey, Concord was a little village. There were hardly any places to go. But Thoreau could be enthusiastic about observing the slightest things, such as a colony of ants or a patch of flowers or a spider weaving a web. So our enthusiasm for living enlarges us, not just in the big things. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but in the little everyday things as well. Everything doesn't have to be big, big, big. Get excited about the everyday events and people in your life. My wife gave me a ring to remind me of this. It says, Carpe diem, seize the day.
There's a spark of aliveness that is kindled when we are enthusiastic about our relationships. Many years ago, David was leaving on an extended trip, and before he departed, he put a number of little Post-it notes in secret places around the house, so that when I opened a closet or cupboard or drawer, I found a little love note. One of them said, remember 1,000 times a day that I love you. That sticky note stayed up in my closet for 8 years until we sold the house. And then I still saved that precious note. Is there some small way you can express your enthusiasm for someone in your life today? David and I have continued for many years to tuck little notes and cards in luggage and under pillows and inside lunch bags, books, and day planners. When you're enthusiastic about your family and your friends, your relationships stay invigorated, energetically connected, and wonderfully alive. As children, we can all remember that special feeling when mom or dad or someone in our lives, like a grandparent, showed enthusiasm about something we did or accomplished. Perhaps it was a teacher who enthusiastically responded to our work or told us we were talented and asked us to display something we had created. Enthusiasm plays a vital role in our development of our confidence and our ability to be enthusiastic about our own lives. When we sang a song or read a poem or performed a dance or made a great science project, these moments of being applauded and receiving recognition from the special people in our lives gave us the courage and ability to take another step. Even when we are babies, going from crawling to walking, someone stood us up, looked us in the eye and said, "You can do this. Take a little step. I'm right here." And when we finally took that step, there was so much enthusiasm. We knew we had done something special and we could do it again. In every step of our lives, we need to enthusiastically cheer ourselves and others on. We all need this encouragement. Enthusiastically support someone you love today. Tell her what a good person she is, how much you value her, and find one totally positive thing you can share with her. Watch the glow of a smile spread across her face and feel the energy of life increasing for both of you. Tell him that you're proud of him and you enjoy watching all the success that he has earned. What a great gift we give when we give the gift of our enthusiasm.
David, what do you think is the major reason why people come to see me as a medical doctor?
Well, I suppose that most people come and say they don't have much energy, they're tired.
Yep, that's exactly it. They come in, they don't have that pep, and so then I have to send them to the lab and get some blood work done and rule out things like anemia or low thyroid function, or maybe they have an infection. Most of the time, I don't find anything physically wrong with them.
Well, as a medical doctor, I know you work extensively with meditation and visualization. So how can we treat this? How can we work with this? You said that enthusiasm is connected with our hypothalamus, which is not something that I know a lot about, and I don't think that most people do. But how do we tap into that hypothalamus using visualization to increase our energy level, our zest for living, our enthusiasm?
Right. Well, one of the ways I love to do this is to work with this image of a beautiful pink rose. Now, we commonly think of the color pink as representing passion and enthusiasm, joy, love, and energy. When we're feeling good, we say, we're in the pink. So we can take this image of a pink rose and visualize it being right in the center of our head, which is in the region at the base of our brain, the area of our hypothalamus. This rose represents our power of zeal and enthusiasm that's always right within us, but now it's about to flower to a greater degree. Now, slowly and gradually, we imagine the rose that we visualized in our head starting to open. And as it does, we feel the lifting of our spirits, an opening of our mind and soul to greater joy, a flow of new energy and inspiring ideas about how to enthusiastically live our life. And as the rose gradually opens, we envision rosy pink light radiating into all parts of our head, beginning to fill it with the warmth and the passion and the vibrant energy of our indwelling power of enthusiasm. Now please, don't be in a hurry. Don't try to force the rose open too quickly. Let it open at its own pace. Zeal and enthusiasm cannot be forced any more than you can force open the flower without harming it in some way. Rather, let the joy and happiness well up within you. Feel a greater passion to love God and to live your life to the fullest. Now you are filled to the brim with joy, a zest for life, and just the right amount of energy that you need to do whatever it is that you need to do right now. Now you are in the pink.
I avoid burnout or rust out by expressing my power of enthusiasm in balanced and constructive ways. My enthusiasm helps me to live passionately in tune with powers and abilities to do seemingly impossible things. I have a balanced zeal, so my hypothalamus and medulla fill my body with vibrant energy. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. I am enthusiastic about the wonderful people in my life, and I show it. I visualize greater joy and enthusiasm and just the right amount of energy coming into every aspect of my life.
I once visited the grave of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which is beside Ebenezer Baptist Church in an area of Atlanta called Sweet Auburn. I felt like it was a pilgrimage to the shrine of a modern seer and prophet. It's a national historical site, and a small museum contains one of his handwritten sermons beside his well-worn Bible in a glass case. The sermon was on the power of enthusiasm, and I copied down the introduction. It said, "No greater tragedy can befall a people than to be circumscribed to the dark chambers of pessimism. Pessimism is a chronic disease that dries up the red corpuscles of hope and slams down the powerful heartbeat of action." This from the man who said we could remember him as a drum major for justice the minister activist who gave us one of the most remembered and visionary addresses as he challenged America to be America because I have a dream. He was a person of enthusiasm who was not deterred or overcome by all the insults and arrests and church bombings and police attack dogs and clubs. He refused to give in to pessimism and to give up. His assassination marked a terrible loss of leadership in the work for nonviolence, justice, and peace. When we honor his day and his dream each year in January, let's remember his tireless optimism and enthusiasm. I have a dream. Dr. King was one man who maintained his enthusiasm for liberty and justice for all. Keep the dream alive. Hold the vision of a world that works for all people and act passionately on that vision. Energetically stay committed and enthused, and we will get to the mountaintop of peace and caring for all people and our whole planet.
Living in the light of a brand new day, I'll rise up, 'cause now I know that I can. Yes, I'll rise up and show the world who I am. When I fell down on my knees, your spirit came down and set me free. And now I'll rise up and help the world to believe. Oh Lord, in the stillness, I keep listening for your voice. Oh Lord, in the stillness, I hear the reasons to rejoice. Even when times are too trying and I am denying